on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Thank you very much. It's 5 minutes past the hour, and this portion of our program is brought to us every single Tuesday in the 8 o'clock hour for the past 26 years. The very first presenting advertiser on the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut. Chuck Malamut, as I mentioned, our 26th year as our official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. And for all of your financial planning needs, you can turn to Chuck at 609-383-2010. That's the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010. The program that you're about to listen to is presented by Chuck. He is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut. They do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast. They are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. What we will be addressing over the next 40 minutes or so, straight ahead, Chuck's market update. Chuck will continue with his 10 predictions for 2017. A look at fourth quarter corporate earnings. A look at the labor market. Chuck will be talking about where do we go from here. He'll talk about President Trump and the political capital that a new president has, and this president in particular, since he's in now, and tax reform. This portion of Hurley in the Morning is also brought to us in part by Margie Hurley's favorite hotel on the planet, Congress Hall, in Cool Cape May. Last year they celebrated. It's something that you almost never see here in America or anywhere, and that is a property that's been open for more than 200 years, now for 201 years. The bicentennial year was incredible. There were always great events that were happening, and it was so incredibly exciting. Food and dining events and theater, dinner type shows. Curtis Bashaw, the owner and general managing partner, participating in the performances. I mean, it was really an incredibly special year, and I can promise you a lot is in store for 2017, where they really make it wonderful all four seasons. You know, when you go back to 1816, when Thomas Hughes first opened the doors to the big house by the sea over 200 years ago, no one except maybe Hughes himself could have imagined the impact that it would have on a little, what was known as tiny town at the southern tip of New Jersey, Cape May. Now 2 full centuries and 1 year later, Congress Hall continues to be known for its beauty, relaxed sophistication. I think Mr. Big, Chuck Malamut, when I think of sophistication, warmth and sincerity of its staff. Congress Hall has won the prestigious 2016 TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence. Obviously, 2017 is not out yet. We'll be telling you about that in due time. They're the recent recipient of the number 2 spot on the Condé Nast Traveler's 2015 Reader's Choice for the top 20 hotels, not only in the entire Mid-Atlantic, but also New York as well. You can reserve today. One last favor. Tell them that I sent you, Hurley in the Morning. You can reserve by either calling 888-944-1816 or visit them on the World Wide Web at congresshall.com. And I'm telling you, it's a very interactive website. I don't just send you there so you can look around. You can scope out a room rate. The whole calendar is there for you to choose the day, the date of the day that you'd like to stay. And you can make that reservation right on the website. Take me up on one other thing. Make it a point at some point to dine in the Blue Pig Tavern because it is such a wonderful experience. We're talking about a lot of farm-to-table food right from their own Beach Plum Farm to the Congress Hall dining table in the Blue Pig Tavern or in your room if you're having room service. You will really love it at Congress Hall, and please tell them that I sent you Hurley in the Morning. Chuck Malamut.
Good morning, Harry. I'm glad I only owe you one pizza.
Eric owes
because I heard Eric owes you like four.
So
you do know that doesn't do well for your waistline, but yeah. In any case, I'm standing here and I'm looking at that blank space on the wall, and I
you
just know that. Look, Harry, you know what we do all day, and we work with numbers.
Yeah.
So
you know what's about to happen.
Worst case scenario, not worst case scenario.
You can word it that way.
No. I what I don't want to do, Harry, is get a little bit ahead of myself and congratulate you for this, for being the dual champion, because there is a remote possibility.
No.
There is a remote possibility that you could end up in a tie.
Not a remote. I mean, it could easily end up in a tie. There's 2 choices left. I'm 2 ahead. If I pick New England in the under, and my second place opponent picks Atlanta and the over, and both of them come in, or vice versa. But here's what we do know. I have won at least a share of the title. I am the titleist no matter what. The only thing still to be determined is, will I win it alone, or will I have one person sharing it with me? So I am your dual champion, Chuck. You can.
So I'll wait with bated breath, Harry, as we have that one. We have that break, as you know, and we don't play. The Super Bowl doesn't get played for another week. Pro Bowl this weekend, yes.
Yes.
And then followed by the Super Bowl. But I think the networks were probably very disappointed. Not so much with the results, but the fact that both games were pretty much blowouts.
Terrible. Usually they're the 2 best games of the year, even better than the Super Bowl. Here was the reason for this. Atlanta and New England, in their respective conferences, literally were heads and shoulders above anybody else in their conference at this time. And I love all my friends that are huge Dallas fans. Dallas would have got crushed by Atlanta, too. Atlanta is playing phenomenal. And actually, Chuck, I give them a very good chance. They're the only team in either conference right now that could beat New England. They're playing phenomenal defense, and Matt Ryan and that offense, they can't be stopped right now.
I'm going to answer that with one word, Harry: Belichick.
That's true, and I did say that yesterday with Mayor Charles Kane, and give Belichick 2 weeks to game prep. And yes, they'll definitely be the such a superior opponent than Atlanta has faced thus far. I mean,
absolutely.
You look at New England in the Belichick era, Brady era. This is now their 7th Super Bowl together in like 12 years.
Pretty remarkable, no doubt about it. So
good stuff. So you want to wait 2 weeks, but just understand, I am your champion. It's just a matter of, am I your regular season champion and playoff season champion, or have I done something? Well, either way, I've done something that's never been done before. No one's ever won both.
Just remember, the pool manager has the ability to go in and.
Are you going to change my numbers? I'm going to take a screen capture. Chuck, the only thing I regret is I did something I never do. And not this weekend, last weekend.
Know, Harry,
I listened to somebody,
yes. No.
And I changed my picks, or I would have slammed the door shut. Anyhow, this makes it more fun.
It does. So, speaking of fun, last Friday was certainly a remarkable day, as we all watched the president-elect become the president. And I think, as you kind of identified and in your show earlier today with Congressman Lobiondo, fair amount of shenanigans, were taking place up to the final hour. But the market right now, Harry, I think the best way to describe it is we're kind of taking that wait and see attitude.
It's like a timeout right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look, for instance, last week, and again, it was a quiet week. The S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, they were off anywhere from 0.1% to 1.5%. European markets were down, with the exception of the Germany market, the DAX, which is up about 0.5%. So if you kind of look across the board, almost every indice was down for the week, but
only down a little
certainly
bit.
Not a week will not tell the story. So through January so far, the S&P is up 1.5%. The NASDAQ's up 3.2%. So we're kind of continuing that trend of, and quite frankly, I think this is better for the market versus having these huge up days, these huge down days. I mean, the volatility in the market for the most part has subsided over the last couple weeks. Now,
by the way, you don't ever make promises or anything like this, but I'm going to just tell you about something I read that fits in right now, and you might want to comment on it generally. And if you don't want to comment, we'll just move right back to your market report. But I read something at about 3 o'clock this morning, and it was a smart, analyst, and they were saying they see 5% more of the Trump growth, the Trump bump.
I'm sorry, 5% more in the market?
Yes.
Oh, so the market from here moves up 5%.
Just on Trump.
Okay.
And that it's not over yet, but yet I totally accept reality of what you outlined, that we've sort of had a timeout. And I think part of that is because that rally was so, incredible that it can't continue forever. And also the fact that we have a lot of earnings that are coming out.
Harry, I'm not going to get onto that 5% number, only because you're absolutely right. The market right now is more focused on not so much with the rhetoric that happens pretty much on an hourly basis, but what is happening with respect to earnings. One of the concerns that we had and the thought processes was the fact that we thought for now, or at least on a go-forward basis in Q4, that we would not only see revenue beat, but we would also see earnings beat, top line and bottom line. And Harry, unfortunately, what is happening now is that's not necessarily the case. I mean, earnings do look good pretty much across the board, but you continue to see, slippage in revenue. Now, one quarter does not make the market, but we are certainly in a better spot than we have been, previously speaking. So earnings, for the most part, have improved. Business confidence has improved dramatically, from the beginning of November. 15% of the S&P 500 companies have reported this is through Friday. So right now we're probably closer to 18 to 20. Fourth quarter earnings are beating estimates by about 4.5%. Revenues are coming in, and I think in some places a little light. The analysts were expecting better revenue in a lot of different industries. We think that earnings per share could very well grow by in excess of 6% over for the quarter. Now, if we end up with more positive surprises than negative surprises, don't be at all surprised, Harry, if year over year the earnings actually are up in almost in excess at 10%.
Chuck, we're overdue for our first break, so I got to get out quick. We'll come right back and you can continue. Is there any credible forecast that you're aware of in terms of the estimate for fourth quarter GDP? Obviously,
I've seen it all. Unfortunately, I've seen it, all over the board.
Because from a historical standpoint, that's something that I have been chronicling every quarter for the past 8 years. And you know what I'm talking about without me saying it, because I believe that with the Trump bump, that could actually create a fourth quarter that would be 3% or beyond. But I haven't seen anyone credible say it.
The advanced report is just referred to, and that's just going to actually be reported on the 27th of this month, Harry. The consensus is at 2.2.
2.2.
So
that would be a first in American history, 8 consecutive years of not at least one quarter with 3% GDP. That even includes the Great Depression. Shocking, actually. And it includes the Great Recession of just before Obama. We had 3%. Brief time out. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Chuck Malamut, All About Your Financial Matters, continues. A lot more information presented by Chuck straight ahead.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the mayor of the morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thank you, great one. You are listening to another great one. Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor to the Hurley in the Morning program. We're in our 25th and a half, actually 26th year, full 26 years as of the end of December 26 years as our official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, and Chuck leads his team. He's the managing director of the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. So for all of your financial planning needs, that's everything. And Chuck will tell you when he sits down with you, get started. The earlier you get started, the better. For college building, for retirement, turn to Chuck, 609-383-2010. Chuck, you were saying right before the break.
So Harry, as we were sort of finalizing our thoughts with respect to earnings, if earnings do in fact get to that 10% increase year over year, it's going to be the highest level that we've seen in many, many years. So the market, like I said before, as we started our time together this morning, is really truly focused on earnings. The market is obviously focused as well on the Fed, and you think about this, Harry. It got very quiet, with respect to the Fed speakers and who says what to whom and when they say it,
and you know why.
So the labor market, and I know
it's a late fuse.
I know that you're going to. I got to throw it out there because it's always great to get a reaction from you.
Well, people are waiting to see where they stand and what's happening.
Weekly unemployment claims. The latest data that we've seen have now fallen to a 43-year low in the last week. But
this is the strongest employment market we've ever had, Chuck.
But
this is amazing.
Harry, I sense a fair amount of sarcasm.
Okay.
But you do a very good job.
I said smiling.
You did. So the question is, I was not even going.
43-year low.
Harry, I was not.
Oh my God.
I was thinking about not mentioning this today, but it is. The facts are the facts.
Tell that to a person listening right now that might be getting 3 hours sleep tonight after working 2 or 3 jobs, but they're 100% employed. It's going great.
Harry, I take it with a grain of salt, but that is what is out there. So let's talk about the new president for a second. We're not going to talk about Trump and his accomplishments and where he wants to take the country and all the turmoil that we continue to see on an hourly basis coming out of Washington. It's the old expression. It's like watching them make sausage, but. This is a fact. For the most part, when a new president is sworn in, equity markets oftentimes experience somewhat of a downturn. And you think about it, the move that we have made of late and the fact that the market has not had a major correction in almost a year, it wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Chuck, what usually happens when a president as a candidate and then wins and then takes the office who promises dramatic tax cuts for both individuals and corporations? I think we have empirical evidence as recently as George W. Bush, as recently as Ronald Reagan, as recently as JFK. Every time we do that, something really good follows.
It does, Harry, but I think what is happening now, and if you kind of look at the market, it's obviously it's a little nervous at this point in time. The first several months of a new presidency oftentimes brings stumbles, politically speaking. I mean, Trump has thrown out there that he has certain initiatives that he wants to get accomplished, of which they need to be prioritized, and some will get done, some will get done, not as complete as he would like, and some will not get done at all. And it's just a matter of putting, what he wants to get accomplished in what particular order, and in what percentage it will in fact get accomplished. So, for the most part, investors oftentimes scrutinize what is happening, and if you go back and look, Harry, at the month of February, 8 out of the last 11 times that a new president has taken office, there has been a decline in the equity markets during the month of February.
Very interesting.
And, the average decline averages, about 4%. So,
now, Chuck, I got to say, that's a stat that's meaningful to me.
So if that in fact happens, and we're not suggesting that investors, sell all their equities and buy fixed income. And we are, actually have been tweaking portfolios, Harry, because of what's happening with interest rates, and we're actually reducing fixed income just by a very, very small amount and adding to equity. So, we have to be careful as we do that because, again, this is not a sprint. We are not looking hour by hour. We're not looking by day. We're not looking by month. This is a marathon.
Halftime break, Chuck. Let's come right back. We'll be right back. Chuck also has he started his 10 predictions for 2017. Chuck has more on that. Where do we go from here? Tax reform, a whole lot to go straight ahead in our final closing power segment with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, continues. 31 minutes past the hour. This portion of Hurley in the Morning brought to us by Resorts Casino Hotel, Atlantic City. 1333 Boardwalk, that's the corner of North Carolina Avenue and Pacific and the Boardwalk. It sprawls all over from Pacific all the way down to the Boardwalk. Resorts Atlantic City is a phenomenal property, very, very customer service oriented. And if you mark this down, bookmark it on your digital devices, put it on your home screen in your smartphone, resortsac.com. You can book a room right from there, find a great place to eat, buy tickets. We'll talk about upcoming entertainment this weekend and in February. We're always going to be telling you a month or 2 months ahead what's going to be happening all year long here on the Hurley in the Morning program about Resorts Casino Hotel Atlantic City. The Star Card, your player access login, right at resortsac.com. We've been talking to you about this all month, and that is the fact that Howie Mandel, it's this Saturday. Tickets are still on sale at Ticketmaster.com. Saturday, February 25th, so basically 4 weeks from this Saturday, Air Supply in concert. If you've never seen Air Supply in concert, it is very, very special. And the sound is still, you wouldn't know. You close your eyes, and the falsetto is still there. They sound absolutely tremendous. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster.com. You heard about free self-parking about 2 minutes ago at the Self-Park Garage or the Surface Lot located on North Carolina Avenue. And for new members, this is being basically looked upon as the best new member program in the world's playground. And that is the opportunity to earn as a new member $500 same-day slot cash. For new players who sign up for a Star Card, you can earn up to $500 slot cash same day based on your tier points earned. For more information, visit the Resorts promotion booth for additional details. Chuck Malamut, time is yours.
So, Harry, we were going to focus on, for a minute, we talked about the 10 predictions as we got into 2017. So these are a little bit dated. We got through half of them last week, so I'm going to kind of go through them very quickly. U.S. and global economic growth improves modestly as the dollar strengthens and reaches parity with the euro. We saw that of late, and in the last week or so, the dollar is actually weakening somewhat. You'll like the second one we chatted about. Unemployment drops to its lowest level in 17 years. Wages increase at the fastest pace since the Great Recession. We kind of just chatted about that. Treasury yields move higher for a third consecutive year for the first time in 36 years, as the Fed raises rates at least twice. I think that is pretty much a given as well. Number 4, stocks hit their 2017 highs in the first half. We kind of chatted about this. Earnings rise, but price earnings multiples fall. So don't be surprised, Harry, if in fact the market does in fact experience some turbulence. Number 5, stocks outperform bonds for the 6th year in a row. First time in 20 years while volatility rises. So that we think is going to happen. Number 6, small cap cyclical sectors and value beats large cap defensive and growth areas. Not unusual with a new president. I think this is we're going out here on a limb a little bit. Number 7, financials, healthcare, and technology outperform energy, utilities, and materials. Think about last year. The number 1 performing sector in the S&P was energy. The number 2 best performing sector wasn't, I think, utilities. They were either like 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere in that range. Worst performing happened to be healthcare.
Because because things were going bad. And now I have to say, Chuck, I think is very sound analysis that because there's so much focus in the early days of the new Trump presidency to fix this Affordable Care Act, I think it would only stand to reason that what the analyst is saying, I think that's how it's going to play.
Yeah, the next item that I think your listeners really need to pay attention to and be somewhat cautious. There's been such a proliferation of ETFs, exchange traded funds, over the last several years, and a lot of money has left active management. That being separately managed accounts, that being mutual funds, unit investment trusts. So what is happening? What we think will be happening is that active management will outperform passive as you get more inflow into equity. So if that is the case, you need to really take a look at, if you own exclusively a passive account invested in various ETFs and indices, then you've done relatively well over the last couple of years. So you might want to seriously take a look at that. We talked about geopolitical risks. We think that's going to continue to happen. And, the optimism that we saw as we got into the end of last year, after the election, and into this year, we think that that's going to fade somewhat, because, as you know, the process is so terribly slow in getting anything accomplished, out of Washington. And I think that will ultimately create a fair amount of frustration.
With one party in power, though, and I think even a willingness to do executive orders where the legislature tries to slow walk it, I think there's a potential for more change, more action than we typically see.
Yeah, so here's what's going to happen. So Trump's going to obviously need to figure out what works best. Where is he going to exert his political capital? I mean, he wants to hit everything quickly.
By the way, do you think markets care, Chuck, that Donald Trump, by executive order, just took us out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership?
I think the markets,
expected it.
Yeah, I mean,
he telegraphed.
It was pretty obvious, that here's what he was going to do. I think what's very, very interesting, and please don't hold me to this, but I think what I remembered hearing that he is going to take 75% of the regs that are out there that have hindered businesses.
That's his goal.
And take them off the table.
And you and I both know we didn't just fall off of a turnip truck. That's never going to happen. There's no way 75% of existing regulations.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, but what that means is whatever he does do will be significant. I just don't see how you get rid of 75%.
So as you know, excuse me, Harry, he's obviously his agenda. He's focused on tax reform, tax cuts, deregulation, infrastructure spending, obviously health care.
We have a bridge shut right now, Chuck.
I know that. Yeah, so he can't. He can't act on everything immediately, and I think what's going to be really, really important here is where he's going to focus his efforts. As he kind of prioritizes.
Where's the money coming for massive infrastructure?
That, Harry, at
the same time cutting taxes. Now, I'm a believer if you cut taxes. We had record revenues. We had the greatest peacetime expansion in the history of the Republic in our lifetime, Chuck. You were a young, I believe, financial advisor at the time. Early part of it, you were like me. You were a senior executive. I was a junior executive at the time. But we've seen great peacetime expansion with lowering taxes. But we're going to be in an environment where the president wants to lower taxes, increase infrastructure spending, and he's talking about really rebuilding the military, rebuilding the Navy, rebuilding bridges and roads and things. This is a lofty agenda.
Well, two things. I mean, Harry, as you know, yesterday, I believe Trump announced a hiring freeze for government.
Correct.
With the exception of the military.
Correct.
So he's looking.
He also wants to cut the workforce by 20%.
So if he's able to reduce the size of the beast,
there you go.
Then you don't need the same revenue stream. But don't think for a minute that tax reform is going to be done very, very quickly. It's going to be at the forefront of the agenda in Washington. But is the comments that were made last week and what Congress, and what Congress is saying. I don't think right now, Harry, they're on the same page.
No.
So it's going to take a Herculean effort, and it's going to take a fair amount of time for that to happen. So two things. Investors are going to probably be a little disappointed that it's not happening as quickly as everyone would like. And as it's not happening that quickly, then you're still going to have that revenue source that could, in fact, over time be somewhat diminished. So
But you know what's interesting about it's not happening as fast as certain people would want? You have two houses of Congress and an executive branch. How fast do they think something's going to happen? Tomorrow?
Well, Harry, I think that, your comment is very well taken. I mean, I have been thinking about this from the moment that Trump was elected, and his number one concern was to grow the economy and decrease taxes and pay for infrastructure. And I'm sitting back and saying, how are we going to get this accomplished? And I'm still sort of in that wait and see, because I don't think anybody really knows at this point in time. It's sort of for lack of better words, a work in progress. I mean,
part of it is you have to hope and believe that the same principles that have worked time and time again when they're properly employed will work. And that's that you can grow revenue by cutting taxes. You don't have to grow revenue by increasing taxes.
Well, yeah, sure. If you can decrease taxes, grow revenue, reduce the regs, the onerous regs that are out there.
Increase infrastructure spending.
No, but I'm saying if you have, I mean, you think about it.
By the way, remove the individual mandate from health care. Slipping that in there.
No, I understand that, but Harry, but what I'm saying is that there is, I think this can be done. I mean, I think all of us, I think where we're all concerned right now is the ongoing rhetoric. I mean, you've worked with Donald Trump for many years. It's been a long time, but personalities typically don't change.
He hasn't changed at all.
So
I'm seeing it every day.
So you understand that this guy is a workaholic.
That's correct.
He might on average get 4 hours of sleep.
That's correct.
On a good night.
That's right.
So he is constantly looking at what he can accomplish next. So the big question, the elephant in the room, Harry, is can a business person take Washington where it is today and recreate it?
Drain the swamp, in other words. I said
it. Can Washington be recreated where it becomes more beneficial for all of us as citizens?
Well, here's my prediction, Chuck, and I do know him very well, and I know exactly how he operates. He gives you a chance to do your job. If you don't do your job, you're gone. Now, he can't fire the entire Congress, so what he'll do is he will utilize, I think even beyond Obama, the executive authority that he has. It's not as good as making law because obviously the next person can undo what you did. But I predict he's going to very genuinely try to work with the Congress. And if they don't get it done, he's going to take incredible amounts of executive action.
So, Harry, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but I found, as you know, you do a lot of reading, I do a lot of reading, and there are some things that you just embrace and you don't want to forget about. And I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to read this to your wide range of listening audience here.
Thank you. Even wider when you're doing the show.
So here we go. Three of the most common ways that people can ruin their retirement years are by investing too cautiously.
Wow.
Taking Social Security benefits at the wrong time and outliving their savings. Saving money is already a concern for all of us as Americans. A survey of 7,000 U.S. adults revealed that 69% of those polled had less than $1,000 in their savings accounts, including 34% of respondents who had no savings at all. Mm-hmm. Life expectancies are increasing. Social Security Administration reported that a man reaching the age of 65 today can expect to live on average until age 84.3,
So you're almost 20 more years.
Compared to 86.6 for women, according to Forbes. Nearly 1 out of every 4 65-year-olds will live past 90. So, I wanted to get that absolutely correct. So that's why I read it instead of paraphrasing it, because Harry,
you can see why a lot of people would be guilty of the first one, because as you get older, you don't want to risk your principal, so you are more cautious. The first one, to me, isn't surprising. I really hear you on the second one, because sometimes the moment you're eligible for something, there's a desire to jump to it. So I'm 62, I can get partial, but it does pay. It does pay to wait until at least 66 if that's your year.
Full retirement, 66 and change, 67. Social Security benefits on average, Harry, increase by 8% a year.
The longer you wait.
The longer you wait. So we do, in part of the retirement planning that we do with our clients and prospective clients, is dedicate some time to trying to understand and when to take Social Security and when the break-even point is. So the break-even point on average is about 10 years. If you start to take Social Security at 66.
In 10 years, you will have gotten back everything you paid into it.
No.
Even quicker than that.
No, let me back up.
Yeah.
Taking Social Security at 62 at the reduced benefit versus taking Social Security at 66.
Yeah.
So if you wait the 4 years or so, take the full benefit at quote your at your retirement age, it takes about 10 years to make up that differential by not taking Social Security at 62.
I got you.
So if you live beyond 76, and that was pretty much indicated here that could very well happen to most Americans, if you can afford to wait, if you have cash flow from other sources, pension income, 401k money, after-tax savings, whatever it may be, part-time job, if you can wait, you're better off waiting till age 66.
And not to be fatalistic, but you don't get a time card to know that you're going to get 86. My father got 65. He never collected a penny. He paid in for 50-some years, never collected a penny.
Look, Harry, it's if we had that answer, it'd be a really, really easy calculation to do. But I
feel like you're going to have a long life.
Yeah,
it certainly pays to wait. If you make it to 65, you're going to collect zero.
But I think the point that I was trying to make, Harry, a couple of things. One, make sure you're taking Social Security at the right time. Two,
when is the right time, though?
Well, based on all the analysis that we have done, it's you wait to full retirement age.
Full retirement age.
Which in this case, for us is age 66. There are some people that wait to age 70 to take Social Security. But again,
do you think that, and this isn't, I'm not asking for Morgan Stanley analysis, I'm just asking you what you think. Do you think that this will change for anybody that's either already a Social Security recipient or someone nearing, like a baby boomer and beyond, nearing Social Security retirement age, where they would dramatically change at the end of the game? Do you think they could possibly stick it to the American people and change the rules?
Look, rules are always subject to change.
Because it used to be 65.
Right. So I wouldn't be at all surprised that, over the next several years, that'd be 3, 4, 5 years, that the age requirement increases. Because
is that for people that already had their age requirement changed?
No, I think it'll be for those that are younger.
That's what I
think.
In
all likelihood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's really hard to take away something that's already been sort of promised.
And you've been getting your annual report showing, when you're eligible, and all of a sudden, ha ha ha. But now it's 70.
But this is, we are living through very, very interesting times. There's no doubt about it.
Chuck, the truth of this is it's also unsustainable. And now we have us, the baby boomers, and we could break Social Security.
We could
break its back.
For sure.
Because you and I both know this. Even though we look at how much we paid over our lifetime, won't we receive back everything that we paid our entire life into Social Security within the first 7 years?
I have to go back and do the calculation, Harry.
But it's something like that.
I think the number is somewhere in that range, but
which means if you
there
live
are
20 more years,
more receiving than those that are paying in. Potentially, that could, you've heard all these discussions that Social Security 2034, I think, was the number I heard, the year that Social Security was going to be bankrupt, and there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation that we read. What I do know is what we chatted about a few minutes ago. If you can afford to wait, take Social Security's full retirement, unless you know for sure, your mortality is going to be very, very short-lived. And then obviously you take it when you can. You take it at at age 62 or as soon as you can. So,
Chuck, great stuff.
Harry, thanks. We'll see you again next week, all right?
For all your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, 609-383-2010. That's 609-383-2010 for the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office. We'll have some closing thoughts when we come back, and then I'm happy to report wide open forum. And I hope you'll jump back in. We've been taking a lot of phone calls today. We'll come right back to your phone calls, anything that you want to talk about, at 609-407-1450 on Hurley in the Morning.